Good day, guys. Welcome back to this week's market analysis, and I hope you guys have had a great trading week last week. And today we're going to be touching again on some news points, some great news articles that has come out this week, and then we're going to be jumping into our market analysis, cryptocurrency majors, looking at some forex pairs, and then along with the indices, and then recapping, what we did last week. Where are the movements going to be going, what we should be looking for, and then wrapping it up, we will be going over the Ilus coin that we spoke about last week, and just watching that great coin and seeing what is next for that. So let's jump, guys, right into it. The US, okay, the US, they've been talking about debt, okay, and talking about what's becoming now the 18th of October. And if we jump over to CNBC, this is the article that I've been reading, and it's the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, and she said on Thursday that she favors removing debt ceiling from Congress control. So what is basically happening is now, this is the 18th of October, and she's warned the US has until the 18th of October to raise spending limits or face default. So if we go and you go through this article, we can see that, that the amount, what we are talking about, it says here, the US currently is 28.4 trillion in debt. Okay, that's nearly $700 billion of which has been incurred since Joe Biden took office. Okay, so what is currently happening now is what she says, that the government's funding, okay, operations expire on the 18th of October. So if this doesn't get sorted out, what will happen is then we've gone through COVID. They've put money, and to relieve that, people were getting paid money even through not getting jobs. The economy is still not great there at all. Job losses are gradually stepping up, as we saw last week's news. There's more and more jobs losses that are coming out of the US, especially now with with the Federal Reserve through the pandemic. So the doesn't mean that we're coming out of our getting the vaccines. People are getting better, lockdowns less, that the economy is getting better. We are still feeling this ripple effect of what is happening. So this is something that we need to be wary of. And it says that, the Treasury is saying this can be catastrophic for the US. And what is basically happening is, if they default on this debt, that will then roll over to everything. And we might be seeing that already, where we'll have a crash. We'll have a market crash again, like we did back in the beginning of lockdown. And as I mentioned in my last video, that everything has just been skyrocketing, and that we are needing that pullback. So the crash could be causing that now. A lot of the trend looks like we are shifting to the downside. So this US debt is crazy. And they're wanting to have this debt relief bill of putting it back into the economy of $3 trillion. So they can't just keep on printing money to keep things going. They have to borrow it from somewhere, and that now debt has seemed to have caught up. So the 18th of October seems to be where we need to be watching out for this, and this can definitely cause all markets to start coming down and crashing. So very, very dangerous waters, I think, what's happening now in the US. And that also shifts over to China as well, which we'll be touching on shortly. So the next point I want to be looking at is we had a bit of spark and movement on our major cryptocurrencies, which is what we will be touching on shortly, having a look at it. And this could be possibly the start of it, and the reason why we had that push and breakout on BTC, Bitcoin, and the major cryptocurrencies. It says here, Powell, so the Fed Powell said he has no plans to ban crypto. Okay, he here is what experts say and might lie ahead for crypto. So he's already saying that, you know, that this week that the central bank has no plans to ban cryptocurrencies. However, market players are calling on US authorities for more regulatory clarity. So there is still talks of, you know, keeping it regulated. I don't think, as I mentioned before, my past videos, I don't think they are wanting to, you know, just let Bitcoin be off the radar. They definitely want to clamp down and regulate it. But far as that push and the movement on our crypto markets, I think this was 3rd of October came out, and this was obviously due to it. People saw, oh, you know, US is welcoming cryptocurrencies. And that's obviously caused the majors to now start pushing up to the upside. So something to watch. We'll jump back in the chart shortly, but I don't feel that this is a start of a bull run. I'm still got my hopes up on that at the moment. So following on from the US debt, right, that debt relief that's coming in October, we want to jump over to China and have a look at what is happening there, what is happening to China, and if we see China going in through this period now, it's going to be rolling over to all other economies and across the globe. So China recently, they've been having a big power crunch, okay? And what that is restrictions on imports of Australian coal. So most of China's energy and power is still through coal, and they've had this limited, they're limiting the amounts of imports. And what's been happening is now these power cuts is happening, and it's struggling, you know, the supply. You can remember everything is made in China, that flows over to the rest of the world. If the factories don't have power, we can't get goods out, there's no services, and it's going to be causing this to be rolling over to all the markets. And along with that last story that we touched on, which was that Evergrande, which they're $300 billion in debt, okay, that has now obviously caused the markets to drop. And adding this with power cuts in China is definitely going to be affecting the markets across the board. So something to keep an eye on. And as I'm seeing these different news articles, it's sort of coming together and creating what I'm starting to see in the technical and the market analysis when we look at the charts of potential now swing to the downside, changing. We're having all this, you know, not great that we've got the US with the debt, we've got China with power cuts, and that Evergrande, Evergrande, as I mentioned, is on the Hang Seng. Okay, so if you look at the Hang Seng, what is it? It is it's the market. Okay, it's the largest companies that trade on the Hong Kong exchange, and Evergrande was one of the major ones on this. Okay, on this Hong Kong exchange, if I could say. So we'll have a look at the Hang Seng in a minute, but this is all coming together, and I think this could be a big catalyst for a market crash coming soon. So something to keep an eye on, guys. And now going over to something a bit more great for our cryptocurrencies and stuff is the Twitter, which is something that we've recently been seeing. And Twitter users, this is on the Business Insider. Okay, the Business Insider embraces Bitcoin tipping ahead of a broader social media adoption. So Twitter users in the US and El Salvador, because El Salvador was one of the more recent countries that have adopted and use of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, okay, in the country. And what they can do now is you can actually tip fellow tweeters with Bitcoin, okay, through Twitter. And I think what they're trying to do is they're obviously trying to look ahead. And it says here, you know, this is quite a useful article. What does US adults think about cryptocurrency? And we can see the top one there, 69% don't really understand. And I think that goes across the board for cryptocurrency in general around the world. So what they're trying to do is just think ahead. They're obviously seeing that this crypto payments is going to be the way forward. And he says, yeah, it's additional payment option to power its global platform. And it makes it much easier. He says here, Bitcoin as the internet's native currency, which can reach every single person on the planet much more easier than building infrastructure to process fiat currency in each local market. So they've seen, they're forward thinking, and this is great. That can actually, we can tip, people can tip each other Bitcoin through Twitter, which is something very, very exciting. And I think something like this as well is causing the movement a bit more aggressive on Bitcoin and the majors, which we'll see shortly. They've all seemed to be pushed up on the recent news, and I think it was on the back of what Fed Powell said there of they're not looking to ban cryptocurrencies currently now, and that's just on the markets as well. Business Insider, the Treasury is on CNBC.com, something to look at, and same China as well. China's power crunch is a very big deal, especially for across the markets. And then we have Twitter, which is also on our businessinsider.com. Great, guys, let's jump into the charts. And first things first, we just want to look at the major cryptocurrencies, and then we will flow over to the rest. I want to look at BTC today, Ethereum, Ripple. Then I want to look at a few Dogecoin, Cardano. They're also looking pretty good to still be in a good buy zone for a potential rally to the upside. And then we're going to look at some Forex pairs. I'll be looking through stocks and then looking at some indices. So for now, let's jump over to BTC and see what is happening with BTC and what this news has caused for BTC and for the majors, because generally once BTC starts to move, the other cryptos and altcoins will follow. Okay, so as we can see, all right, we are still sitting in this range on the weekly time frame. As mentioned, my long-term progression, I still see it coming down to 20,000, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But daily time frame, let us give us a bit of context of where I think price could be going. So we can see now after that news, we have this big push up. We were sitting around this support level for quite a while, around 41,000, and we have now recently had that big surge off the back of the news, which has pushed Bitcoin back into 48,000 mark, and we're currently sitting around there. If we had to take this trend using a bit of a trend line, you can see we've broken out of it. 65 EMA, which I use, is that we can see we have now broken above it again. So what should we be doing if we want to be buying Bitcoin? Well, I would wait slightly, okay? And what I would like to see is Bitcoin coming back first of all and testing around the 45,000 mark, and then from there we can look to buy, and then I want to hold it up to around 50,000. From there, I'm going to be waiting and taking it a little bit easy, and the reason why is I still have my concerns. Daily time frame, we could still come back up into the 50, create a bit of a head and shoulders, and from there see a decline. So for now, I want to be looking at Bitcoin retesting the 45 mark, okay, and then having a push and surge up to the 50,000, and from there I will then have to relook at it. But for now, definitely looks like we have a bit of bullish intraday mix coming in here, and we can look to buy and take some of our profits out at around 50,000. So for now, BTC 45,000 back up to 50,000. Ethereum looks similar to BTC. Let's take these drawings off. as mentioned, you can see we have broken above the 65. We are still in a bearish structure. Okay, as you can see, we're still in a bearish structure. As I'm saying, there is a lower high. So this area is a lower high over here. And this area here, we are still in sell territory. So for now, we just need to be careful, a little bit cautious. But if we can retest this zone, like Bitcoin, if we can come back to our 3,000, 3.1, potentially 3.2 area, and then seeing a rise, so we could see this play out, possibly back up to here, or even back up to 3.8, and then from there I'll have to process it. But for now, I do see a bit of upside market for Ethereum as well. So coming off our 3.2 area and possibly back up to 3.6 and then our 3.8 for Ethereum. Ripple, also we can see a bit of a crucial area. Again, we need to be treading a little bit light. Just because we've had the push and the breakup, it doesn't mean that we are now bullish favor. We still need to, this could be a bit of a trap, making people think this is the bull run again and we've started. But we need to just tread a little bit lightly. We can see now we've at this resistance was previous support. But again for Ripple, if we could get the push back down to our 97, 95 region, then we could possibly see a push and a surge back up to our $1.25, okay, for Ripple. So for now, if we can have this pushback coming back down into this area and then possibly seeing a push, we want to see a clean break over this zone and then a push back into 1.25. So for now, yes, we am favoring the bullish push on Ripple as well. So those are the three majors that I like to watch. And then what I want to look at is Dogecoin, okay, also been doing pretty well, and we can see where we are sitting now. Okay, we are still very, very low. We've had that push up, like I said, they've followed Bitcoin. But if we look at the context of where we are sitting, we are very, very, very low. We back down where we were in July this year, and we are back down here. So what we could see, quite a bit of gains on this pair. If we can have a push up to our 0.30 mark, that could be quite a bit of an intraday move on this Dogecoin, and that's what I'm seeing for this pair. If we look at the 4 hour, so 4 hour, we can see we've had a bit of a breakout. If we can come back, retest here, creating that bit of support, we can then possibly see price move up to the upside, as I mentioned, back up to our 0.30 mark for Dogecoin. But on the grand scheme of things, higher time frame, we are pretty low. So if we're wanting to be buying, we should be getting in around about this area at the moment and possibly seeing that push up to get some return. So Dogecoin looking pretty good to get in for longs and holding for a little bit. Then I want to look at Cardano again, which is on TradingView, ADA USD. Same thing, we can see this was my last week's setup. As I mentioned, we were on the support. We can see price pushing to our 2.5 mark, possibly up to our 2.8. So for now, let's look for longs. We've had that push of support. Same thing, we want to see price either come back, retesting this area, and then seeing price movement back up and possibly even higher. Okay, so we have this breakout of this area here. Okay, we want to stay above this area, retest, and then push back up to our 3.0 mark for 88 USD. So pretty low, same as Dogecoin. Looking good area to buy and hold for a short period of time, and then from there we'll have to reassess it as price starts to move. But we can see there's a bit of a breakout of this trend. We want to see that breakout, but still low, as I mentioned. On a higher time frame, we're still looking pretty low. So if we want to buy in for intraday or a bit of a hold, now is the time. we are still very low because we could shoot up to the 3.0 mark. Great, guys. So that's the cryptocurrencies I wanted to just touch on. Went over the majors, and then these two where we could possibly look to get into longs. Same BTC, Ethereum. We want to see a bit of a pullback first, create that support where we can then look for our medium short-term investment and push to the upside. Forex, we were looking at Euro USD. Let's just first look at the dollar, something very interesting as well. Dollar has surged to the upside, and we are now at the highs we were back in November last year. We've come right back up to this resistance. What is happening for the dollar next? Where could we be going? Well, the thing is, we could see a breakout of dollar. We could see the breakout coming back into these 95.50 region, or this could be now the swing, and especially as I mentioned, the news talking about the debt in the US, that could have obviously a terrible effect on the dollar. And from these highs, we could see price movement all the way back down to our 91, which is what I would prefer to see, and then we can then correlate that accordingly. But for now, intraday on dollar, what could be happening? Well, I think we could come back, retest where we had that intermediate breakout, and then have a push back up to our 94 area. From there, we'll have to see what happens, or we're just going to push down, close below, and then eventually start making our way to our 91 region. So for me, dollar, I'm going to stick to my guns and say it's going to be bearish, start going into a bit of a bearish cycle. Our Euro USD that we were watching, unfortunately, broke out to the downside. I was hoping for that push to the upside. But again, if the dollar now is going to start having that bearish trend, we could see Euro USD start making its way up. We want to see it close above this area that it broke out of, and then start looking for longs. But right now, we could still see a bit of shorts on the cards. We can see we had the breakout, structures to the downside, bearish structure, bearish momentum. My 65 EMA, we've broken below that as well, as you can see. And what price could be doing? Well, we could have price come back up, retest these areas, and then a sell-off. Or what we could do is we could see price push up a bit higher to these zones, back up to my 65 EMA, which is where I prefer to have a bit of a bigger sell-off, and then seeing price movement to the downside. So again, something to watch, but currently we are on sell territory. We're looking for sells just to correlate it with the dollar, and we have broken through these lows. Okay, so we've created the lower low. We want to wait for price to come up, create a lower high, which I would like to sell around 1.18 for Euro USD, and then take price down to the downside. So for now, still looking for sells on Euro USD. Same with GBP USD. Unfortunately, if we look at this on a higher time frame, let's go back to the daily, and you can see we've had price movement starting to shift to the downside. We are now below the 65 EMA. We can see how we've retested it again, and we have now broken below these areas. So for now, looking for sells. I would take this as my relevant lower high, and see price, if we come back up to these highs, look for our sells again to the downside, and possibly even lower for GBP USD. So for now, Euro USD, looking for sells. Want to wait for price to come back up though, create a lower high, and then start looking for our sells. And this could possibly happen around 1.37 triple zero psychological level for sells on GBP USD. So those are the three pairs I want to see. Then I want to stick with those right now. Still looking for sells on both of those, Euro USD, GBP USD. We're going to then look at NASDAQ, and very, very crucial as well. And this, as I mentioned, the charts are showing NASDAQ because we have our China's stocks and shares and everything also to the downside, Because if we look at Hang Seng, if I remember, I told you Hang Seng was Hong Kong's exchange. If we look at that on the marks, on the charts here, here it is, and I'll show you how low we are, okay, and you can see the trend. If I go to the monthly time frame, price is sitting very low. You can see we're right down there. So if the Hong Kong Stock Exchange is looking like that, that is also going to affect everything US, and then start rolling over to our stocks and shares. Where if the world economy is starting to go negative, all the news with China's power, with the dollar and the debt, it's going to start to spill over to everything. So let's look at NASDAQ, and you will see what I mean as well by NASDAQ. If we look at the daily time frame, okay, daily time frame, remember through the beginning of lockdown last year, the markets have just been going up. So for now, it's needing that correlation, needing that to have that correction. If we look at the daily time frame for NASDAQ, we are below the 65. You can see we've had a proper close below the 65. We've closed below this low and this low. So for me, I'm looking for sells now on the higher time frame for NASDAQ, and coming down to my prices of around 14,000 and then possibly even 13,000 at a later stage. But for now, where do I want to look for sells? What should we be doing? We can see prices pushed off my low point here. I want to be looking for sells on NASDAQ anywhere from 15,200, 15,100. So this is my zone I would want price to come back into, okay, and then seeing a push down to first level of 14,000, and that is a significant drop. And if you are trading that intraday or holding a trade like that, that is quite a big percentage. It's another almost a 10% drop again on NASDAQ. So for me, I'm going to be looking for sells on NASDAQ from around 15,100 to 15,200, and then holding it to our 14,000 psychological mark for NASDAQ. So one of the stocks we looked at, okay, was Naspers. I think it was in one of my videos I did 2 weeks ago. And Naspers is a South African company, but it is, we just want to go back into it. It's at a good place now to start looking to buy in, okay? If you're wanting to buy into a stock that is very low and has done significantly well consistently, this is a good stock to look to get into. As we can see on the monthly time frame, we are very, very low. We are now sitting on the 65 EMA for the monthly time frame. You can see the trend is going up. So we're at a low point, and from here, if we're buying into these areas here, we can definitely start seeing price make its way up to the highs. And as I did show before, let's look at it. If we're catching price here and holding it just back up to the highs, we have almost gone up about 70% just on that. But I would want to, if we're buying at these lows, we want to be holding it for at least a year or 2 years on this type of stock or trade. So Naspers, good one to be following. We are very, very low. We're getting a bit of rejection now down at these lows. So something to watch for a potential stock to get into. So one of the exciting coins I've been following and interested in, we're going to touch back on it now, is the Ilus coin. And we spoke about it on our last video. And let's just go over to the Ilus coin on poocoin.app, where we are going to be seeing and looking at the structure. And as I mentioned when we last saw this, was that we are looking for a breakout. We want to see breakouts of these highs. We were sitting on the support line, okay? We had that push to the downside, fake out, and then we have had price push up now to the upside. We had the fake out to the downside. We are sitting above the 21 EMA, which is good. And as you can see, the 21 EMA, we have then stayed below it. We've just gone sideways for a bit. We have now broken up with price. So it is doing great. Ilus coin is starting to make its move. It's now following the Ilus International, the stock price, which we'll touch on shortly. But we can see price is now coming to these crucial points. If we can have the breakout above our 0.28, retest the 21 EMA that will now be underneath, we can definitely see Ilus coin start to take off, and hopefully we can get back up to $1 for this coin. So for me, watching price now, it's coming to good levels. We're starting to get that reaction, starting to get that movement on this coin. And again, as mentioned, guys, this coin is backed by real assets. You're getting involved with a great cause, and just go check out their socials and their website for more on the white paper. But this price now is we're starting to get a bit of movement, starting to get a bit of action coming into this coin. If we jump over and look at the stock, which we have touched on, we will see that it's also been doing absolutely brilliant. It's been going through the roof. Daily time frame, when we did touch on it, we have tapped out at about 0.45, but now we can see price having that pullback, and that's what we want to be doing. If we want to be getting into a longer term investment and buying back into this, we want to see price come back to our 0.2 as mentioned. If we can get there, this is my 65 EMA. If we come back and test these areas, then I want to be looking for buying here and holding a long period for this as well. So we can see on the back of the surge and doing well, the coin now is coming into play as well, and we're getting that traction and seeing price movement on this. So something to watch. I'm wanting to be purchasing, getting more into the Ilus coin for sure. So guys, that's it. Just want to wrap it up a bit. We must just watch the dollar, what's happening in the US, this debt that's coming, this debt relief, and talk about the debt that's coming now. The 18th of October is going to be crucial for markets. But I do believe that everything that's coming together, way the markets are looking with the news, it is going to be causing a bit of a crash or a bit of a pullback needed in the markets. It's not a bad thing, but it's just going to take strain on the economy in the US and China, and then it's going to flow over to other countries. But it also gives us opportunity then to wait for price to be coming to the lows, where we can then start to invest and buy back into the market and watch price going higher. And as we can see as well with Twitter and companies now embracing crypto, it is definitely going to help the crypto. If it comes to lower prices, we can jump back in and start seeing a bull run from there. But for now, I'm only looking at intraday moves for the major cryptocurrencies, the small pushes to the upside, and taking it a bit wary, because if we have the drop and we have the market crashes on the stocks and all that, that will filter over to our crypto, and we could see crypto having that long-term projection, as I mentioned, and all coming down to the lows again. So guys, have a good trading week, and look after yourself, and I'll catch you on the next one.